Today is Reverend Kent's Sunday out of the pulpit, and he asked me to read a sermon on the theme of desolation and consolation and desolation. I chose a sermon written by Reverend Barbara Pescan. Barbara came to Unitarian Universalism as an adult, and her father died of dementia, and the UU congregation gathered around and offered wisdom and help and solace. And because of that, she decided to become a UU minister. And I'm sorry, I lost my page. So she decided to become UU minister. So the words that I'm going to share with you are her words. Today's sermon is raw and personal, and it speaks to me, and I feel it's a perfect commentary for this week. What to Do When Nothing Can Be Done by Reverend Barbara Pescan. I had to keep learning that there were limits to how much I could help my sister if she was approaching death. We had a little book the hospice provided that describes the signs. We kept track of Mel's temperature and looked at her skin and her weight loss. But for weeks, the hospice staff found that her vital signs were holding fairly close to steady. So we were not alarmed about the few indicators that suggested she was closer to dying than her vitals indicated. Other than cancer, she had been a pretty healthy 54-year-old woman. About the big thing, we could do nothing. But about the small, daily, hourly things, we could do much. I reminded myself repeatedly to not be irritated with myself for doing something wrong, or for forgetting something, or for some small ache of my own. Not just because my small irritations were comparatively beside the point, but also because Mel was very sensitive to changes in our emotional climates. Our rage at cancer or at some substandard treatment from the oncologist, anger at those things was simply beside the point. I had to figure out more than once that irritability with small things, with things I could not control, were standing in for the great thing about which none of us can do anything. Mel had good days and less good days and some awful days, and we had some beautiful moments together. I remember during this time that on the outside of his office door, my minister had a poster that read, "Nearly everyone is dealing with something difficult." And I often thought about that. Not all the hard truths are about death. Between an ordinary day and that finality, there are other hard truths that we encounter that fray the fabric of our lives. Things happen to us that transform what seems like the strong and dependable tapestry of our life into the thinnest, most fragile, gauzy scrim. We try to see through that veil to the other side, but all we can really discern are shapes in the mist, moving and uncertain. So, what can we do when nothing can be done? When nothing can be done to alter the trajectory of events we did not create. When nothing can be done about outcomes that no amount of expertise or caring can avert. The essential truth of the conundrum, what to do when nothing can be done, seems to lie somewhere between anxiety and faith. Our anxiety seems to be less about the world, about life and its vicissitudes and the groundlessness of life, than it is about us and how we experience uncertainty. Life is a mix, always changing. Some good, some hard, some scary, much joy, much beauty, but essentially groundless. The joy comes and goes. Even the sadness comes and goes. And if fortune has it that you live through the thing and you make it through, you go on living. No drama, no manipulation. Or if fortune has it that friends and family are able to support you, even in extremis, you may go well. Hard perhaps, dislocating, almost certainly sad, often, but absolutely ordinary. The last evening of my sister's life, a friend came over, and she and my nephew sat with Mel in her room, and they laughed a lot. I don't know what they laughed about, and it doesn't matter. Ben and Patty and Mel laughed. The next morning, she was gone. Her spirit was still in that room, that laughter from the night before, but she was gone. So, what to do when nothing can be done? I've got a list. You probably have your list too, but this is mine. When nothing can be done, slow down. That is, pause, if only for a few seconds. Breathe. Call a friend. Cry. Walk. Exercise. Drink less caffeine and alcohol and drink more water. Watch television less and daydream more. Do something for someone else. Get quiet. Meditate or pray to whatever God or good you trust receives you. I know some of you do this already. When you do pray, give your praying the weight it deserves. Let it be life-giving. Now, all of these suggestions could seem to be only distractions from your anxiety, your grief. It could seem that when you rise from meditation or prayer, all that trouble will be waiting for you, still unresolved, with its motor running, waiting for you to throw it in gear and get going again. But it is a fact that quiet meditation, reflection on the good, emptying your mind, watching your breath, over time changes your brain. Facing your fears, what one teacher calls riding the dragon, rather than fleeing from it, over time actually changes the way your brain works. And you don't need to spend a long time doing any of this either. At Plum Village, Thich Nhat Hanh's meditation center, they ring a mindfulness bell. Everyone knows to pause in what they're doing and breathe mindfully 3 times before returning to whatever they were doing, just 3 conscious breaths. Some teachers suggest that 2 minutes of meditation is enough, several times a day. Whenever you are tempted to slide into worry or grip a problem hard, touch the pause button. You don't even need a bell. Just the tension of your own grip can be enough to remind you, pause. Let your shoulders drop and take 3 breaths. Over time, these practices work their changes on you. They don't solve anything, don't change the world, but they work their changes in you. It is possible to have faith that you are enough, to know that life is what it is, and it is enough. Our leaning toward faith and faithfulness is a life posture that may be the conscious aspect of all the tropisms of the living world. Birds don't live very long, but each day they sing at the first light of morning. The flower only lasts a few days, but each day the taproot reaches for the water far below the dry surface. The profligacy of nature makes far more squirrels and insects than seems reasonable, so that some of them will survive to make more. Faith just may be the aware human aspect of life's wanting more life, in all its joy and tragedy, in all its sadness, disappointment, and grief, in all its finality, all its brevity and beauty. At last, none of these suggestions, prayer, meditation, watching your breath, exercise, none of these will or can stop us from worrying. But that's why they call it practice. Because practice does not lead to perfection, nor an end to anxiety, nor to perfect peace. Practices like these lead us to inhabit our lives, to be present in whatever is our experience, even if nothing can be done to change it, make it better, make it hurt less, or make it stop. So how to answer the question, what to do when nothing can be done? Simply, keep your faith banked and ready to use. That faith is a posture you know. Faithfulness is a gesture familiar to you, as familiar as saying hello to an old friend. Your faith, your tender faithfulness in the presence of so much in your life that is difficult, sad, unexpected, is what the world depends upon. Sink into the love of those around you for a time. The poet Mary Oliver writes in her book, Redbird, the poem, When I Cried for Help. Where are you, angel of mercy? Outside in the dusk, among the flowers, leaning against the window or the door, or waiting, half asleep in the spare room? I'm here, said the angel of mercy. I'm everywhere, in the garden, in the house, and everywhere else on earth. So much asking, so much to do. Hurry, I need you. So an incomplete answer, and only partly satisfactory, is when nothing can be done, we can simply be with each other. In the midst of all that troubles us, that assails us, all that asks for answers when none can be found, we can be with each other in our solitude. We can look each other in the eye. For nearly everyone is dealing with something difficult. Nearly everyone. You, I, and each of us is an angel of mercy to someone else. So much asking, so many to be with in faithful ways of compassion. When nothing can be done, hurry, sweetly, tenderly, you are needed.